then of course, we can't, I don't think, even though this, strictly speaking, this episode is not about gender, but we can't let escape the fact that the same exact thing is now happening with gender, right? Like I very much push back against the idea of even having to give my pronouns in the first place, right?
Yeah, of course.
This is the trend on college campuses where you put in your signature for the email he, him, she, her, these
Right.
sort of things.
No.
And you go around the circle. Even in my in a youth organization that my oldest son is a part of, for the first time, they did it the other day, and I was very, very alarmed, but I saw it coming.
This
Um,
was in a Muslim space?
no, this is a non-Muslim space. This
Oh,
is
okay.
a
Okay.
group for like bird watching and things like that.
And how did he deal with it?
Well, it was very indirect, and it was very kind of sly. So I saw this happening, for some time now. I saw the direction that this particular organization was going, and the idea is that they're trying to, according to them, be more open and inclusive and diverse. And so I noticed just a couple little things, and I said in my head maybe 6 months ago, I said, I bet there's going to come a day where they have one of these field trips, and they're going to offer the possibility
Mhm,
for the participants who are between ages 10 and 18,
mhm.
um, to give a pronoun. And so just the way it happened, nobody took that person up on that sort of thing. Nobody even mentioned any pronouns, and so it ended up not being
Interesting.
a big deal. But the
Next time they're gonna enforce it, by the way.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And here's the thing too, because I really wanted to drill down on this point, because it's exactly the same thing as, well, what's the big deal if you can just identify as heterosexual, right? What's the big deal if you can just say, I'm cisgendered, right? Or he, him, and use your pronouns? Is that you're asking me to even identify myself with this thing and act as if this is, some sort of fundamental part of my identity that I have to express, and I get to choose for myself. You are destroying my entire worldview, and you're
Yeah.
asking to come into yours,
Right.
right?
And you're assuming that it's up for grabs,
Yeah,
and you're assuming that someone who sees you and looks at your physical form and hears your voice, or the same with me, and that they should just legitimately suspend judgment as to whether we are he's or she's. Like, that's absurd. I mean, we would say that's just no, right? And by going along with it, you're precisely kind of playing into that yes, I need to say,
right.
like it's like no one has a right to call me he until I've given them the permission to do that. No, you have the right to call me
Yeah.
he, right? Like you should do that, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. And I understand you say, okay, well, what about people who don't identify as one gender or another? It's a whole separate topic, right? And I think you're gonna have another conversation about this, right?
Take that down.
Um, so these are issues, and I think the transgender aspect of it. We won't go into it too much of it here. I think that this may be kind of a tipping point in the movement, because I think it's so radical that even many people who identify as lesbian or gay are really uncomfortable with a lot of things that are being pushed by specifically the transgender movement. And there's a group in the UK, it's called the, I think, LGB
Yes.
something. And they specifically said, we're excluding the T. Like, we have nothing to do with that phenomenon. We're a totally separate thing. I mean, part of the reason is because homosexuality depends on a gender binary,
Yep.
right? To be homosexual means there are two sexes and I'm attracted to my same sex. Like, it depends on that. And you might have heard, like, there's this whole phenomenon now of lesbians, women who identify as lesbian, being castigated by trans activists because they refuse to date or like go to bed with quote unquote trans women who are biological males. And these women say, look, the whole meaning of being a lesbian, right, is that I don't want to be with a biological male. Like, that's what it means for that I'm a lesbian, right? Like, I want to be. And now they're being told, well, you're a bigoted, you're being a prejudiced bigot because trans women really are women. And if you're a lesbian, you're supposed to be open to all women. And now you're discriminating against women with certain genitalia. You have a genital preference. It's like,
I find, I
what?
find, yes, go
Huh?
ahead. Finish.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I was just going to say, like, the absurdity of it. Like, when you say you're a bigoted lesbian because you won't go to bed with this trans woman who has male genitalia, because you're prejudiced against women with male genitalia. Like, and so it's like, and you have a genital preference and you're using that to exclude like other people.
Mhm.
But you just look at it and you're like, this is completely insane,
Yes.
right?